I was asked to make them pithy. And the first rule is no one wants to be a prophet of doom. And the unlikely event of an all-out financial collapse, silver will be the money of last resort. Gold will have too high a unit value for day-to-day transactions. And so that implies that we could, again, not would get to a barter situation. Now, we don't have to be in a monetary complete collapse to, negotiate with silver coins. But could it get to that level? And I'd say yes. Has it in the past? Absolutely. Would it be pervasive? Would it be across the entire country? Probably not. Would it be across the entire world? Probably not. But it is something, and there would be, it'd be a free market, basically. You would have so much silver coinage in whatever form, junk silver, silver rounds, government pressed silver coins, and negotiate the value therein. If there's no paper market, then you'll go to like a cash market, and the market itself will become more free and it will self-determine over time. It may not immediately, but it would be very close. Once it's a free market, then the free market will prevail and people will negotiate what the value is, and it will come more in line with like what the mining ratio is. Not saying it goes 7-1, but it could certainly move down from the 80-1 it is right now. So still long-term bullish, still think that what we need is more participation. We need more people to understand the story of honest money, honesty in the financial system that works for everybody. Remember, there's 2 billion people on the planet that live under that $3.20 a day or less. There's 700 million that live on under $1 a day. There's the biggest bifurcation of wealth and power ever in the history that we have, that we know of. And this is not right. It's far from correct. And in an honest money system where everyone uses the same articles, say gold and silver, that's a much more level playing field. So hopefully I answered that question. Yes, we could get to barter. Will we? Possibly, but we don't even have to get there to use it that way.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and I think that's one of the things that is one of the perhaps self-selecting mechanisms of the silver crowd, where I think most people just want to see a more equitable system rather than what we have now, where things seem to be dominated by Wall Street and what the banks are doing. Although, David, along those lines, we have a great question following on. You touched on this a little bit, but Jake asked a 5-year silver projection. Let's say we're looking back and doing this in 2027. What do you imagine has happened in those 5 years? And obviously we don't know the future, but any thoughts on how some of this could have played out by then?
Definitely. Of course, this is kind of a linear projection, which is always wrong. We do what's called least squares linear regression, which means a curve fit. And if we do that, what we find is that, as I've said in other interviews, the amount of silver required just on the industrial side alone over the next 8 years will probably take us to 100% of the market or thereabouts. The other thing is, where are we in the world system? And that is, we're in a huge contraction, which means less copper, less lead, less zinc, and that's 70% of the market. The other part is oil. I believe we are at peak oil or close to it. We're near the energy cliff, which means that if, let's say, the price of diesel doubles, that's 25% of the capital expenditure for a lot of mines. So that would double, that'd be 50%. So it'd be uneconomic to mine silver on some of the primary silver producers. So there's a lot of factors that are lining up together at the same time over the next 5 years that do project a silver squeeze, basically. And in a squeeze situation, you usually go parabolic and things go overvalued. And silver hasn't been overvalued for a very, very long time. It's been undervalued for a very, very long time. So I think the next 5 years is going to be probably the part of the silver story that goes into the financial record books.
Yeah, I certainly think that is possible. And one last question, perhaps, before we let you run. Tiffany asked, are central banks investing in silver like they are gold? To my knowledge, so far, we haven't heard any banks investing in silver, although we do have the talk from the BRICS nations of a basket of currency that could be backed by commodities. So have you seen anything along those lines yet, or could you see that happening?
I doubt it'll happen. The bankers basically off silver back in 1873, as I've said many times. The Wizard of Oz is a book all about the silver story. The Railroad Road is going to the Emerald City is paving the road with gold, going to the bankers' green paper money system and putting out the common people, the scarecrow, the tin man, etc., throwing them out. The common man can't use silver anymore. And of course, in the actual book, Dorothy had the silver slippers, and all she had to do is click them and take her back to Kansas. And in other words, to be grounded in the people's money. So you can look at that. There's a film called The Secrets of Oz by Bill Still that's for free on the internet. You might want to watch that. So rein me back in. What was your question? Oh, bankers. No, they're not going to buy it. Now, there is a bit of a story there. First of all, India, one of their main banks, has silver, but the rumor, or the best of my knowledge, is that it's not LBMA grade or COMEX grade. It's not 9995, and it's kind of a holdover from the silver standard. I am pretty aware, and it's from a good source, but I don't want to ever say anything that isn't as accurate as possible. Russia seems to be having a bit of a silver port. Now, they're not using it on a monetary side. They're using it on a strategic application side. Remember, silver is vital for high-tech society. It's also vital in a war scenario. So anyone that's worth their weight in gold knows that silver is critical if you want to keep society at large going, especially in a situation where communications, electronics, warfare, satellites, all the stuff that we have in our modern technology is vital. So yes, Russia, I think, has stockpiled silver, but not for monetary purposes. India probably has some. It isn't monetary grade, and no one else, to my knowledge,